I found out my wife has been getting a coworker to spy on me at work because she doesn't trust me around my new female coworker. Posted by you/World Sione Mad. Not really great at writing, so apologies in advance. I'll try to include as much info as I think is relevant, but please feel free to ask me for more in the comments if I wasn't clear about something. We, 31M, 30F, have been married for 5 years and together for 8. My wife has been jealous of a coworker at my job for some time now. Her name is Heather and she's in her early 20s, tall, pretty. Just observations, as I have a pair of eyes. Heather is nice, but I don't go out of my way to talk to her. We worked together on a project about 8 months ago, which is when this seems to have started. Heather, 3 other coworkers, and I were assigned to this project, and so for a good month, we spent a lot of time together at work. My wife saw her one day when we were all coming out and she was picking me up to go to dinner at my parents'. She immediately asked who she was and if she worked at my job. I told her she was new and was put on our project. For the entire duration of the project, my wife was in a bad mood almost every day and would take every opportunity to tear Heather down, saying she was lanky or her nose was crooked or whatever. She is insecure about her height because she's 5 feet 4 inches and not a 6 foot tall glamazon. I love my wife's height and her petite figure and tell her this every day. She is extremely gorgeous and turns heads whenever we walk downtown. But once she saw Heather was tall and not ugly, she was convinced I thought she was hot. I kept telling her she was just a colleague and that I had no interest in her. Regardless, she would greet her coldly or not at all if she saw my colleagues. Our home and jobs are located downtown, so we usually walk to meet up with each other after work. My wife would start dressing up a lot more than usual when she'd come meet me and make a big show of jumping on me and stuff. She works at a very nice bakery and usually brings leftovers from work for us or people at my job. She always gave things out to everyone except Heather. Eventually, Heather picked up on the hostility and approached me to ask why my wife was acting that way. I simply told her I didn't know, maybe because she didn't know her as long as the other colleagues, she was distant. She seemed to accept that, but would no longer leave at the same time as everyone else and would either go early or hang back. Brian, another coworker, approached me on Friday and asked to talk to me privately. He told me he had been at lunch with Kate, 29F, the coworker in question, and she had gone to pay for the food. She left her phone on the table. It lit up with a text and he saw it was from Valerie, my wife's name. The text basically said, "Did you see him talking to her today? What did he say? Then, do you think Heather is going to stay at that job long?" When Kate came back to the table, he asked her if that was Valerie, as in my wife. She got a deer in the headlights look and said, "Oh yeah. We text sometimes. We're friends." He said he thought it was weird because she put her phone in her purse without even checking the messages he had asked about and wanted to go. I went home and I snooped on my wife's phone. I know it was wrong, but I had a feeling that if I asked her, she would deny it or become defensive and not show me the phone. There were weeks worth of texts that basically were little reports on what went on at work. If Heather talked to me, what we talked about, did she hug me goodbye, did she touch me at all, did I laugh at her jokes? Did the guys think she was hot, did I join in with them, did I look like I was flirting? Kate was also apparently talking up Valerie at work to Heather. She made sure to mention often that we were married, how great Valerie was, how long we'd been together. I even read one that said, "I told her Val works in a bakery. I bet if anyone tried to steal her husband, she'd just chop them up and bake them into a pie, ha ha," which was pretty effing creepy. A lot of things started coming together then. Heather was much more distant lately, she seemed hesitant to say bye at the end of the day. We used to talk casually like everyone else at work, but now she would just say hi and bye mostly. I've been sitting on this information all weekend. Today at work I could hardly look at Heather for shame, and I couldn't look at Kate for my disgust. I haven't been able to approach my wife about this because I just don't know how or what to say. I feel frustrated and very much weirded out. I feel gross too, like I've had my every move watched without knowing it and as if just talking to a coworker is doing something wrong. I haven't talked to anyone else about this, not even Brian who first mentioned it. I don't know what to do from here. I don't even know what this means for our relationship. It feels like something big has changed because I haven't been able to look at her the same way, and all my interactions with her since Friday have been kind of forced and faked. I need to talk to her and figure out what to do. Any advice would be appreciated. I feel very lost right now. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. This is couples counseling time. Hardcore. She, your wife, has totally broken your trust and is treating you like a criminal. She's being mean, disrespectful, sneaky, and just an all-around jerk. Kate should also be seriously ashamed of herself. I dunno, man. Were it me, I'd talk to my wife, insist on counseling, but if she refuses to go or causes a huge stink, I'd rethink the marriage. I might even report Kate to HR for unprofessional conduct and creating a hostile work environment. Ops response. I'm going to bring up counseling today when I get home from work and talk to her about this. Commenter 2. Has your wife been irrationally jealous before? Did something happen in your relationship to make her lose all trust in you? I guess those things don't really matter, you guys need couples counseling regardless, but I'm curious as to where this behavior is coming from. I'm sorry this is making work so uncomfortable for you, and especially for Heather, who never asked for any of this. Please talk to your wife so you can save your job, marriage, and all the unfortunate bystanders who are now involved. Ops response. Yes, she has. My wife is very insecure about her looks, and I find it very sad. I'm not saying this because I'm her husband, but she is very beautiful. Long dark hair, light brown eyes, perfect face. She really does get a lot of looks and double takes. But she experienced a lot of bullying as a kid. She had bushy brows growing up and was the only Italian girl in her middle school. She grew up thinking she was ugly for not being tall or blonde-haired and blue-eyed. She thinks that's secretly what I want, I guess, although I've never said anything to indicate that. Update 2 days later. First off, I would like to thank everyone for their responses and for taking the time to give me advice. I did not expect the 300 or so comments I received, so please don't take it personally if I didn't reply to yours. I was very much overwhelmed by and grateful for the support. On to the update. I took the general advice and confronted Valerie, using therapy as a non-negotiable term. So Tuesday, when I posted, I saw Kate at work and bluntly said, "You don't need to report on me today or any day after this. I'll be talking to my wife after I'm done today." She got this blank look on her face and said she didn't know what I meant, but I noticed her hanging around significantly less than usual after that. I did my best to focus on my work, but I asked to go home early because it was just impossible to concentrate with everything looming ahead. I went home and texted my wife that I was home early and needed to talk to her when she got off work, so to please come home right away. I got a bunch of, "What's going on?" and, "What's wrong?" texts, but I just kept telling her I'd talk to her at home. She got home, and I got into it right away. I told her I knew about the texts with Kate, about the spying, and the harassment of Heather. She was mad at first and kept adamantly saying she did nothing wrong and that if I had nothing to hide, why did it matter? I told her to please not play me for a fool and outlined all the things her behavior meant, like lack of trust and sheer vindictiveness. I brought up the consequences, like my damaged trust and the drama in the workplace. I also brought up how my job could be at risk because of this. She made a point to say they couldn't fire me without also removing Heather, as she'd claim Heather was being inappropriate toward a married man in the workplace and Kate would back her up. That brought us to a heated argument, and it ended with her crying and me yelling. She started asking, "Who the F is Heather to you that you give so much of a crap anyway?" and derailed into this whole thing about me caring too much about someone I claimed meant nothing to me. I don't want to get into too much detail because this would be extremely long, but the conversation was a good 5 to 6 hours long. It ended with her agreeing to go to couples therapy and individual therapy if the couples therapist deemed it necessary. She apologized to me a lot and admitted she had been acting out of jealousy and anger toward Heather. She asked if I wanted her to apologize to Heather in person, but I said no, I didn't want there to be more drama. I watched as she texted Kate and told her to stop and that she was sorry for dragging her into it. She gave me the password to her phone for transparency, but I told her it was pointless. If she really wanted to continue, she could just delete the texts before I saw them or change the name or whatever. I told her I expected her to keep her word to stop, because if I got any indication that this was still going on after our talk, I would separate from her and file for divorce. Yesterday morning, things still seemed tense, but that was to be expected. She still kissed me before going to work, and we had a normal text conversation on our commute. I got to work and Kate apologized to me. I accepted it but told her our work relationship from here on out was forever changed and there was no going back. I told her that beyond work conversation, we have nothing else to talk about. She accepted it and went on to start the day. Lunch rolls in. I ask Brian if he'll let me buy him lunch and thank him for telling me. We go to have lunch and he asks me if I've heard that Heather put in her request for a transfer. Apparently, on Tuesday when I left early, Heather asked why I wasn't at my desk because she had brought over the week's project booklet and had seen me there earlier. Kate, of all people, told her I had gone home to deal with personal issues. When Heather asked if everything was alright, Kate told her that she hoped so because I don't want to see someone come between Valerie and Op's marriage. There must have been a bit more to the exchange because Heather went all the way up to our boss's boss and asked for a transfer to a different department. I feel extremely embarrassed because without a doubt, I feel like that guy now in the office. I know Brian isn't a gossip, but of course people will ask why Heather transferred, and without a doubt, it will eventually get out. People who used to talk to me casually will probably stop. The women in the office will feel like they need to keep their distance. And I feel so ashamed that I can't even approach Heather to apologize for the stress this must have caused her. I doubt she would even want to see my face at this point. So yes, my wife has agreed to counseling, both couples and individual, apologize to me, and all those things. But the damage is now done, and I feel like complete crap about work now. I guess I shouldn't have been so naive to think that just fixing this with my wife would make everything else go away. Anyway, thank you all for the advice. I was feeling very at sea before writing that post. I still feel a bit lost as far as how to deal with the fallout of all this, but at least I have one part of it sorted, or on its way to being sorted out, so that's a positive. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. Yeah, this is one of those updates where it appears, on the surface, that the op got their spouse to shape up, but you know they really didn't. Then the update makes you feel worse about the relationship than the original post did. I really don't think that therapy will help them at all. It took Valerie far too long to admit that she was wrong and agree to it. It sounds like she only did because she didn't want to be divorced. Plus, her comments during the fight, and those are just the ones that op shared with us, make it even clearer that she didn't just get carried away with jealousy and fail to consider the consequences of her actions. She honestly doesn't care if op or anyone else gets fired from their job as long as Heather, a woman who did absolutely nothing to op's wife except be taller than her, gets fired too. And the things that she and Kate were going to tell HR could have potentially put Heather on the line for sexual harassment. They seemed ready to say that she was making unwelcome sexual advances toward op and that op or Kate had told his wife about him. Now, I don't even think that a straightforward divorce is enough. Op needs to tread very carefully when leaving this woman, and he really needs to leave her, because she sounds dangerous. Basically, the only consolation I could offer op is that his wife would be more likely to kill Heather than him. Commenter 2. I feel like Heather may even suspect op had feelings for her, though he obviously didn't, because why else would his wife do all that? So it's no wonder Heather transferred to get away from him and his wife. I wish op and Heather had talked about it after she requested a transfer, just so that she could be assured he didn't do anything, didn't know about the wife and Kate, and that he wishes her well in her new department. I guess life never really lets us tie things up in a neat bow, though.